Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator. And continuing with my fresh installation of MSFS, today we're going to be talking about some of the applications that I use more common than not. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future updates and future guides that will be coming down the road. Link to Patreon can be found in the description below. As we all know, there are tons and tons of third-party applications and add-ons that go with any kind of flight simulator or any kind of simulator, really, but especially with Microsoft Flight Simulator. There are hundreds of third-party applications out there already that do various things. I probably reviewed most of them on this channel by now, or at the very least showcased them. And with all of those applications, one of the things that I did with this clearing and reinstall, and I always do with my reinstalls to Microsoft Flight Simulator, is I wipe those directories out. I uninstall all the third-party applications. And that way, what happens is you refresh the registries, you refresh the directories, everything's nice and clean, new connections are made, etc., etc. Will it always necessarily make much of a difference? Not necessarily. It's just an extra housekeeping step that may or may not impact performance. It really varies and depends on what the application does and how it integrates. So today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the most commonly used applications that I use here on the channel. And how I have categorized these is more or less just when I did my reinstall, just like I've done with my aircraft, in which we're going to be doing another aircraft video too, because I wasn't done. I just didn't want to make it an hour long. But just like I did with the aircraft, I am making this recording and basing it based on which applications came to my mind immediately, which ones did I have to immediately jump on and say, I absolutely have to have this, I need it, I love it, I want to use it, okay? And so that's how we're going to proceed with the rest of the video. So let's get started. Okay, so first and foremost is still and probably always will be the add-ons linker tool. I think this is by far the best add-ons and scenery and livery manager that is currently available out from Microsoft Flight Simulator. And I think it's just for its ease of use and also based on the simplicity in which I use it. I don't use many of the other links. I don't use, address or the links to the websites and things like that. I just personally don't. I have all of my websites and links and everything stored in Google and independent folders. But one of the things that I like the most about this is your ability to truly structure the folder as you desire. Here we have aircraft. Then if the aircraft has any secondary folders within inside of it, like this one here, the iconic realism mod, you can open that and direct it down. Your scenery tools, I think this is probably where it shines the most. Is, for example, you can do United States, we can do Arizona, I can come down to Tucson, and there's all my Tucson add-ons, okay? As you can tell, I'm still in the process of rebuilding everything. But it is an absolutely fantastic and very, very easy way to navigate your add-ons. And one of the things that I think makes it so awesome is, for example, here is the folder that add-ons linker is looking at. So I created a Microsoft Flight Simulator, an add-ons folder, and then inside that, these are all the same corresponding folders that you see over here on the linker. And you can structure these however you want. Like I said, you can go as far down as you want, whether you want to break it down by city, like if we're talking about your scenery, if you want to break it down by city. Same thing with my aircraft liveries, right? I have these all broken down into aircraft type first, then I open up the aircraft type, and then from there I would find all of my different liveries. Again, obviously I still have a lot more to do. I'm trying to find one where I have multiple, but I don't really think that I do at the moment. Nope, that's the directory. Yeah, well, there's a couple there, but you guys catch the gist. And so it makes it very, very easy for me to manage my add-ons. And I think it's, especially when you're dealing with as many add-ons and mods and liveries that I deal with on a weekly basis as a content creator and as someone who likes to review these products, it makes it easy for me to manage them, and even easier for me to figure out when one is broken and quickly remove it and diagnose what the issue is, etc., etc. So add-ons linker, by far a must-have in my opinion, because of the simplicity in which it operates, the simplicity in which it takes to set it up. And obviously, if you guys have any questions, by all means, let me know. Next up on the list for me is still by far a must-have, and that is Spad.Next. Spad.Next is a control software and an integration software that allows you, or I should say provides the ability to do far more mapping, far more accurate mappings than what can be done inside of the default simulator. Now, a lot of people say, well, the default simulator works fine, all the controls work fine, I don't have any issues. It's not necessarily about having issues. That's not necessarily where the advantage is, although that is what initially made me switch to Spad. But since then, those issues seem to have been ironed out with inside the sim. Where the advantage comes from is there are far more features available in Spad. You can map more controls in Spad.Next than you can by using the default controls within inside of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Many of the abilities that Spad has the ability to map don't have a keybind option inside the sim. And it just has to do with the way it reads the coding in the back end and executes the commands. It can assign those a bit differently than what the simulator currently has to offer. So it can also do things like exporting gauges, exporting radio readouts, and all those kind of different jazzes that will actually provide, radio frequencies on your LCD screens if you want. The list is endless just about to what this software can do. It is extremely diverse. I do believe that it has a one-time purchase option of $60, or it comes out to like $59.99 US dollars. And I can promise you that it is worth every penny if you are someone who wants more from your controllers. If you're someone who's just happy with the very basic gear, flaps, maybe a couple lights, and obviously the control surfaces, then you're probably fine without it. If you're someone who wants to get a bit more advanced and wants to have a much more immersive cockpit experience, Spad is definitely the way to go. Now, Spad does integrate and require the use of FSUI PC7, which we'll be talking about next. But there is also a freeware version of FSUI PC7 that I believe that bridge will work just fine, and it uses that in order to connect to the sim. Now, the other cool thing about Spad.Next is if you are someone who, for example, likes American Truck Simulator or any of the other sims such as X-Plane 11, and I feel like I'm forgetting one that I've used it for, but it is what it is. It is also compatible with them as well. It is a very, very robust piece of software that can do a ton. You can, as you can see here, one of the cool advantages, you can actually set up different mappings per aircraft. And not only will Spad.Next recognize the aircraft, it actually recognizes the livery. Now, I don't know why you would do it based on a registration change, but if that is something that you want to do, you have that capability. It can read everything, like I said, from steam gauges to LCD screens to USB, what's the word I'm looking for? Arduino microboards, all kinds of cool stuff that it can do. There are also pre-mapped profiles online that you can grab, do very quickly. If you wanted to just use somebody else's configuration, you can grab them and click them in. Go to your controls if you want, and you can sit here and just simply identify what each button does. Again, we're in the process of rebuilding everything, so there's many things that I don't have mapped at the moment. But things like managing your auto throttle and things, really just about anything in the cockpit, guys. Just about anything Spad.Next can do. So that is, I know this was a bit of a long-winded segment, but Spad.Next is a very, very powerful tool that I truly, truly recommend. This is because it's the first time I'm running it since, so just hit yes, and it'll reconnect to the LVAR bridge. But anyway, that's Spad.Next. Let's move on. The next one, as I said here, we're going to talk about is FSUI PC7. Let me see if I can move. Let's do this because I know that's very, very bright. That is the main menu for FSUI PC7, but let's find something that makes things a bit easier for you guys to see. Okay, so FSUI PC7 is much like Spad.Next, and it acts as a bridge between Spad.Next and the simulator to offer some even further controls options that aren't normally available with Spad by itself, and this is with the integration of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, truth be told, I actually don't know if this is still a requirement. The reason why I'm saying that is because when I launched Spad.Next a moment ago, it dawned on me that FSUI PC7 was not running, and yet I had control in the simulator. So that I could be wrong on that. That may no longer be necessary, and that's something that I will look into, and I'll try to comment below and clarify. Or at least, maybe make an edit on this video before it's over. Now, once again, this is another very fantastic way to map all of your controls and assignments rather than you doing them inside the simulator. Now, I will say that I do find FSUI PC7 to be less user-friendly than Spad.Next. But I do believe it is also a little bit on the cheaper side and can do many of the same things if you're someone who is comfortable navigating all of the different windows and understand what you're looking at. Spad.Next, again, I will emphasize, is far more user-friendly and far more beginner-friendly than FSUIPC. But FSUIPC is another extremely robust system that offers a ton of different integration options. So I just wanted to really quickly touch on that. And please remember, guys, that links to all of these things will be down in the description below. The next application that I want to share with you guys is Mobile Companion App. This can be, so here is the executable. This is all that needs to be running in the background. Once you launch it, you simply minimize it. It will connect to the simulator. And then you go to the address, either of your IP address of your computer, if you're doing it from a different device. Here, we're just doing localhost because it's running on the same machine that I'm actually launching the application from at the moment. Now, here are just a few, this can be a very high level display of what this does, but I do want you guys to see a few options here. First, obviously, you have some different map display options, whether you want open street, the default, topographical, etc. But getting further into its options, let's go to the navigation. Here's all your nav radios, your comm radios, your autopilot controls. That's your master button. Made it very clear where it is. Your different panels. You can toggle your lights on and off. I'm not sure why it's displaying like that. I think it's because it's designed for a mobile window, but it doesn't normally display like that. Normally the off is written correctly, so that could be something with the way I have my resolution, so don't sweat that. The other, here's your spoilers. Here's your elevator and rudder and aileron trims is what you can set here. Your flaps percentages. This is just a few things here. We're going to go through this pretty quick. Go to data, gives you what your current information is, right? Indicated altitude, your airspeed, magnetic heading. And then this one is probably the screen, honestly, I'm in the most, really, when I'm in this. And that's the simulation rate. The simulation rate is extremely handy, simply because of the fact that, you know, as a content creator, you know, when we're in the cruise phase and I'm just waiting for the next step, I bump up the sim rate. And it enables me to complete that segment faster and get on with the rest of the video and move on to the next project for you guys. Display, you can change the display to where you have your map. If like this is very handy, as you can see here on a full-size browser. Let me double check something. This is really laying out weird. Okay, had a bit of a panic there, but we got it back. So I just had to simply hit tab on my keyboard while the window's highlighted and then get back to it. Let's go back to portrait. There we go. I'm not sure what happened there. And again, probably because I'm not using it on the correct format, but that's totally fine. So anyways, it is an incredibly handy tool that can be used from any mobile device. If it is connected to your network, to your Wi-Fi, to your LAN, it does not matter how it's connected. If it is a mobile device with a browser, Kindle, iPad, cell phone, laptop, it really does not matter. Any other device, and you can simply log into this. This is really handy if you're doing a long cross-country flight, and let's say, you know, you're going out with the family to watch dinner, or, you know, watching a movie in the living room, you know, whatever it may be, you want to get up and do something else. This is a very nice way to monitor your flight and see what your position is. If you load the flight plan inside of Microsoft Flight Simulator, so from the world map, if you create your flight plan there, then you can load your flight plan here and it'll actually show you the different legs. But that is the only other thing, the only catch there. But everything else works absolutely fantastic on it. I use it on an almost daily basis when I fly. I use this one and the Class Echo hardware, which we'll be talking about in another video. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on. Next up on our list here would be FS Realistic. Since this app came out, I've already enjoyed it, but with the final release, when it actually went live and out of the testing phase, it is absolutely incredible. Between the sounds that it offers and the visual effects, the camera shakes, the incredible immersion on takeoff and landing, the change in behavior of the aircraft and the sounds that you hear when throttling up or going through turbulence, the incredible customization options to said sounds. Every one of these sounds that you see here on the list can be customized, changed, volume adjusted, different sounds. Like here's, can see wind is highlighted. That's wind number 5. There's a whole list of different wind options that you can select from and pick the one that you want. There are online profiles that you can download for each individual aircraft, so you can test those out. It just has a ton of option and creativity in with it, and customization that really allows you to tweak the sounds and the environment to your liking, and to really truly enhance the immersion that's offered in the simulators for each independent aircraft and various situations that you may encounter while flying them. They've really done a fantastic job bringing this to the simulator. It's still in constant development, still being updated, and the features will continue to be enhanced as the SDK for Microsoft Flight Simulator improves. They've really done a wonderful job with this application. I highly recommend you guys check this one out. I think this is definitely a must-have, as again, just the immersion and the experience that you'll get is night and day from the default to using FS Realistic. So I definitely want to make sure this one hit the list. This is another very simple tool that has been out for a very long time, and it's just called MD Adjust Aircraft. It allows you to move the aircraft around. Where I typically find the use of this one is, for example, when I'm starting at an airport that doesn't actually have parking spots on it, and I want to start from a cold and dark state rather than actually having to taxi to a different position. I can just move it around. You can turn it. You can make large leaps. You can store locations in it. So, again, using one of those airports as an example that doesn't have a parking spot, once you find a good spot that you'd like to, and let's say you intend to fly out of there again, you can save that location, then just teleport the aircraft to it. You can also teleport the aircraft to various locations anywhere in the world. So it really makes it very, very handy. Again, it's a very simple tool. But in situations where you wouldn't necessarily want to use a pushback, like I said, maybe you're just in a parking spot that you don't want to be at, or Microsoft Flight Simulator doesn't have that parking spot available. Let's say you do have a parking spot, but it's not where you want to be, and that spot isn't available in the sim. You would spawn your aircraft, leave it cold and dark. You could launch this application, then move the aircraft anywhere you want it on the airport, turn it, tweak it, and set it up to your liking before your flight. This is very handy for content creators as well, or anyone who likes to do, any kind of, maybe cinematic experience, something like that. It just makes it a lot easier to set the aircraft where you actually want it to be before starting your flight. And the ability to save locations is really nice too if you're going out of consistent airports that don't have the parking spots of your desire when you start. So again, very simple tool, not a whole lot to it, but I did want to make sure that I threw this one in because this is something that I use actually pretty frequently. And the last one for today's list is a application that provides a simulated career experience, gives you the opportunity to grow into a full-blown company, starting from just a simple general aviation aircraft like a Cessna 152 and then working your way up. Now, the strict nature of the simulator is completely configurable and customizable for you, for in your liking, whether you want it to be a very, very strict procedure. You have to land at certain speeds. You have to make sure that you hit things on time, or whether or not you want to be able to just pop around, grab whatever aircraft you want. It has the ability to add any aircraft that may not be already included with it. It has a ton of features in it. Now, the base software is free, but then you also have the option to go to their website and purchase some other features that it basically just extend the product and enhance the features even further. Also, purchasing any of those does give you access to their Discord, which gives you access to the Neofly 4, which is getting ready to come out here in a little bit. Again, Neofly 3 and 4 are basically two completely different animals. This is 3 that you're seeing here on the screen, obviously. 4, again, completely new software, completely different design, completely different behavior, and it's going to be a ton of fun. It's really shaping up to be an amazing product. But I think my biggest thing that I enjoy the most about Neofly is it sends you to places you would never think to go. It gives you an opportunity to, do cross-country travel with mission base in mind. It throws little, goose eggs at you. Sometimes you'll be flying along and you'll have some sort of in-flight emergency, or you'll have some sort of reason to divert from your initial location, thus further enhancing the flight experience. Like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. which really makes it a ton of fun. Right now, I'm in the process of actually doing a cross-country flight from Tucson, Arizona. We're working our way all the way up to the far northwestern United States, and then we're going to start heading east with it. And it's been a blast. We've been flying in the Mooney, and it's just been a great time. I've seen some really neat places. I've landed at some places I didn't even know existed. The scenery and the different places that I've gotten to see are places I never would have thought to go before. I never would have even looked them up because I didn't even know they existed. And it just offers a ton of different features and different experiences that truly enhance the simulation experience. And then that the ability to build and start hiring other employees and hiring other pilots and getting other planes and generating your own fleet eventually, and really starting to earn a ton of money, all the way up to the commercial status where you start purchasing airliners. That obviously changes the game even further, and even adds, even more of an experience to it, because then you're starting to manage a full-blown company if you choose, versus just the A to B. Or you can just continue doing the A to B hops in whatever aircraft you choose as you continue to expand your hangar. You have to manage things like fuel. You have to make sure you set your cargo correctly. If not, things can go wrong. If you land too hard on certain missions, you can break the cargo and not get paid at all. I mean, it really puts you to the test. You can't just fly around and do whatever you want for the most part. And I really enjoy the experience that's brought to us from Neofly, and the fact that it is completely free. Now, there's a few others out there that we're going to be testing here soon on the channel, but so far, of the two that I've tested so far, I've tested Skypark and I've used Neofly, are the two that I've used at this time. And Skypark is wonderful. It's a great, fantastic application. But my go-to for my personal preference is I still absolutely enjoy Neofly the best. But we'll see what happens with this third one we're getting ready to test, which we'll be showcasing here probably later on in the week. But I definitely recommend Neofly to anybody who's interested in, if you're one of those people who just struggles finding a place to fly, or you're just looking for more purpose to your flight, this is a great application to get started with. It's a ton of fun. And it works with FS Realistic, and many of the modded aircraft still work with it just fine. So you can have a ton of different options, a ton of different game styles, with it, and just, go and fly around the world in places that you've never seen before. I guarantee you it will take you there. Well, guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. Please keep in mind, this is not a top 10 or anything like that. These are just the applications that, as I'm redoing my install, these are the first ones that came to my mind, and that's why I put them in this video. We still have more aircraft that I'm going to be showcasing and talking to you guys about and recommending as we move forward. I still have much more to do on the installation. We have a ton of scenery that I've added that I'm going to be mentioning, my favorites there. And so stick around. I really hope you guys are enjoying these videos, and it gives you something new to think about, and maybe throwing a new app at your way, and giving you guys some new experiences in the flight simulation. As always, guys, stay safe and healthy, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care, folks.